Most of my life, I've lived two tracks, like most of us are told to do. One track was about making money, and the other track was about making meaning. I now believe that it's not two tracks, it's actually only one track. I want to tell you why, and I want to explain how I think that changes everything that we know about AI and how we can use it to our own advantage. I'm doing this on my home beach. This is my spiritual home, this beach. I come up here when I need my own alpha time to sink into some of the project work and some of the things we're doing. Along with this little essay I wrote that I called The Monk and the Empire, this is that essay, speaking to it and riffing to it in my spiritual home. And I've got my mate here with me. Come and say hello. This is Scout. She'll just wander around, but if I have to suddenly jump up and grab her back. But what I am embracing, and I'm doing this with Uni, my partner, creative partner, is the thing I'm calling made in public. And so I'm telling you, I'm doing this at a beach. I wrote the essay, I did the essay on LinkedIn, and Uni said he really liked it, and could I try and do a version of it up here, where I feel most connected to myself, and that's what I'm going to come and riff around. The tensions between what I call a tension of opposites, and there's so many of them right now. How do we perform at work? What does that mean for us outside of work hours? How do we find purpose and meaning in what we're doing? Is work the only way we can get that expression? Like all of us around the world right now, we're dealing with war, uncertainty, unemployment, mental health, anxieties amongst so many of the generations, especially Gen Z. And, within that context, what I've been doing and what Uni and I are starting to put into the world under what we're calling industry approved can provide some real benefit. And so let me speak to that. So how do these two tracks become one, and what is the context for that? I've just had to lock Scout up because she's a terrier, which means she can be a bit of a to other dogs. So if I have to pause for a minute just to settle her or apologize to one of the other walkers with a dog, I'll let you know. But look, this started for me when I read something about a young Chinese guy, 21-year-old, still at university, who developed a thing called Mirofish. And Mirofish is a technology platform, an AI platform, where it uses the feedstock you give it, so the things you're interested in the culture. So it can be news, it can be entertainment, it can be music, it can be sport, it can be opinions, etc., etc. All of the data that's been reported around your domain of interest, you can feed Mirofish. And what the AI does is ingest all of that, mirror it up to what it knows from the interweb, and it will start to predict for you where culture is going. It blew me away. This kid did it in 10 days, used AI, built it in his bedroom, released it, open sourced it, put it on GitHub. He got something like 30,000 top reviews, and a few days later received $4 million US, 4 million US investment from a Chinese billionaire to keep going with his platform. So the principles, he had the idea, he used AI tools to build it, cost him nothing to build. It did an incredible productive thing, because in the innovation I do, and a lot of when we're building artists or building fan bases for artists, the idea of culture and the power of culture and you trying to tap the cultural zeitgeist can give your music, can give your brand a huge lift to connect deeply, not just with your fans, but also in the culture. And this Mirofish engine that he put into the world, one idea, built it, 4 million investment, away he keeps going. Extraordinary the way that AI can read and start to predict the direction of our lives. Because as I always say, fish don't know they're swimming through water. We don't know that our lives are informed by everything around us that we call culture. So that's the first beat, this thing called Mirofish. It blew me away reading that. I was like, like a lot of us in using and looking at these tools is like, what next? So I put that up against something else I've been reading and thinking about for a long time, which relates to a theory of evolution by a guy called Don Hoffman. Check him out, he's at UC Irvine. He's a neurologist and consciousness professor, exploring the domains and realms of consciousness and trying to answer what they call that hard problem of consciousness. Where does it even come from? We still don't know. What he's come up with is a theory that he calls fitness beats truth. And he's been studying how evolution, and has proved, or has come up with a theory that no one seems to be able to disprove, has come up with a theory that says evolution hides the truth from us. And that actually what we are living and what we see around us here is actually a filtered version of the truth. His theory is called fitness beats truth, in that he believes, his theory, or he believes that evolution has coded us only to interact and benefit from something he calls the 4 F's. So fighting, fleeing, feeding, and mating. And that advantage goes to those organisms evolved to only live their life, to only perform in life using these 4 F's. And that organisms who actually see the truth as it really is go extinct. Those are the tests he's been running. Get your head around that, because it basically reduces, what he says, that evolution has reduced us to living a life that only delivers fitness payoffs. And I look around in the world, when I first came across this theory and read his book, and then started to engage and listen to his podcasts and his videos, etc. You start to see it everywhere. The tech bros are all about winning. Zuckerberg, Elon Musk, entrepreneurs who don't give a fuck about their impact of their businesses on social or environmental well-being. The political leaders we have, it's all about win, win, win. You start to see it everywhere and you think, maybe he's got a point. Because what he said is that the best way he described it is that life, what evolution has done, what we see here, is that it's a bit like a desktop interface, and that if you want to send an email, you have an icon on the desktop and you click the icon and up comes the email and you send it. Is that the real thing? No. If you had to use the real thing, you'd have to take the screen off, open up the innards of the computer and somehow code an email using the wires and the PCB board, etc., because that's the truth of a computer. That's what it's actually doing. The interface of the icons hides the truth of what a computer is actually doing. He believes the same thing is true in how we have evolved to live our lives. I looked around in the world and I thought, oh, it seems he might be true, which felt really, really depressing to me. Now, if you put those two things together, here is a young Chinese kid in his room raising or being offered $4 million to keep going with his simulation of what culture could be. And the data that you're feeding the simulation to predict what's actually going to happen, so you can then go and use it to your commercial advantage or whatever it is you're trying to use it for. That's a simulation, but that's a simulation, and what Hoffman's saying is also a simulation, and that you're using simulated data to build a simulation of where culture is going in a simulation in which we're all living, only encoded to deliver the benefits of fighting, fleeing, bucking, and feeding. Mating, I should say, sorry. So I find that all about wholly depressing. And is it only that we are living in simulations? And another AI, more AI is coming to build more layers of simulation on top of that. Sitting with that for a while and cogitating and being in spaces like this, my spiritual home, I started to think maybe there's a hole in what Hoffman's talking about. Because what about religions that have been around for thousands of years? What about the yogi meditating in a cave, burning calories to do nothing but reach enlightened states? What about when you read all of today's Gen Z research about their desperate search for meaning and purpose? And my own story, I went off the rails because I was desperate and searching for something to do and a powerful reason to do it, something that would fulfill me on some deeper level than just pure fitness payoffs. I look around and a lot of our ills in the world right now are because people are disconnected from each other, are lacking purpose and meaning. They're trying to find it, they cannot find it. Their lives feel meaningless. And it doesn't matter how many advantages winning something or the calories they take or the dating they're doing or not, it doesn't matter how much of that. It seems to be that there's some deep, deep part of being human that demands or provides a space for us to find in this one life we have a sense of purpose, a higher calling, a reason to get out of bed and put our feet on the floor beyond just the material payoffs of doing that work. Somewhere deep down inside us, it provides answers, it provides purpose. It fills us up, it makes us feel whole. It helps us get a sense of ourselves in that we are becoming who potentially we might truly have meant to be in this life. I titled the essay, I called it, "The Monk Outlasts the Empire Every Time," because no matter what happens in someone's short life here and their advantage they might get through winning, those things have endured through centuries of spiritual and metaphysical practices. The monk does outlast the empire. And where does that go for me? It says to me that that kid's advantage was not so much that he was using AI, it is that he had the idea to begin with. He asked a question of AI that AI couldn't give him. Is that just a reduced fitness payoff? I don't think so. Oh, we've got the little dog coming up again. Oh, Scout, they want to play with you, but I know you can't be played with because we can't trust you to have a little run around. Sit down, sit down. Good girl. Stay here, because that is definitely a schnauzer, and you do not like schnauzers. So where does this all wash out? For me again, that young kid working in his bedroom, being offered $4 million to keep going. Was that just about fitness payoffs and what he was going for? Or was he being curious? Was he being creative? Was he asking questions in which AI was just the tool to help him explore possible answers? It was the idea he came up with that then everything else hung off. That's how he got to a really, really interesting space. I've been doing this work for 20, 30 years around the world. We were innovating to win in market. Of course we were. That's what the business was paying for. That's the advantage we were going for. That's what I was briefed to deliver, was to innovate some kind of new value. But the way we got there was not just by those 4 blunt fitness payoffs. It was what I call Humanware. This capacity to lead a team and to unlock those deeper parts of ourselves, to be curious, to be empathetic, to understand the nature of the problem, to get a lived experience of the role of that idea or that problem in people's lives, to use that experience beyond just the rational, quantifiable data, to get a felt lived experience of that we could then collaborate around, that we could use our taste and our judgment to create and to inspire outlandish ideas beyond anything that pattern matching could deliver. And where I go further than that is that the journey that opened people up to when we look at their humanware, so not just the hardware, the tools we were using, not just the software that runs on that, but that end space that AI is trying to reach for, that we call humanware, our innate capacity to create and feel and intuit, the connection with deep down within when we feel something beyond the rational mind that tells us, that impresses upon us, you're onto something, there's something there, stay with it, keep going with it, sink into it, explore what that thought could be, and then start to lift and surface it, and then we can bring it into the world. You get a team of people doing that in their own ways that connects individually for who and how they are. Oh man, it's quite something to be part of. It's an extraordinary experience of creativity and action and motion, with others, collaborating new value. The experience of doing that is way more as powerful, but for me it's way more beneficial to the individuals and to the team and to the organization that we're doing it in than it is ultimately about the idea that results in that we make happen in market. So beyond that, the world that Uni and I are now exploring is the idea of what we call becoming. Becoming the best expression of our own humanware that we carry within us, not only expressed through those fitness payoffs, but the capacity to sink into our deep curiosity, to connect with our innate creativity, to explore what's there and surface it so that we can ask better questions, so that we can use the tool as an augmentation of that talent, not as a tool that's going to go and replace that talent. And that ultimately we can become that version of ourselves that in our quiet moments we have a feeling of who it could be, that we get a sixth sense of who we could be, who we are, what we could become in this world, and how we can create that. Both that person, that work, that can deliver that meaning and purpose that really can drive inward benefits to become wholly ourselves and then find ways to express that in the world to benefit ourselves and others in this magical place on our blue planet that we call home. So that was the essay I wrote. I called it the Monk Outlasts the Empire because those practices, spiritual practices, metaphysical practices, meditative practices, what I've been getting into, plant-based retreats, using nature's bounty, let's say it, to open us up to further experiences of ourselves and who we might ultimately become. I believe the monk does outlast the empire. And this channel we're building under my name, Matt Hart, removing my brands, the companies I've started, the platforms we've built, the programs we have, removing that and just go, look, I'm starting to share 20 to 30 years of global innovation practice, both creating new value in the world, but really sinking into that deep monk space that's in all of us and finding benefits from doing them both. So kia ora, thank you for spending time with me. Give us a follow, give us a subscribe or whatever it is, because there's going to be a lot more of this coming. Not just the metaphysical chat, but also, there's another schnauzer, but also the skills and programs we have and our sharing and how we're putting those into the world. So kia ora, kia kaha, aroha nui.